What's going on, guys? We have Turning Point USA. They're going to get a lot of hate for this. They had Tucker Carlson today answering questions, talking about stuff he shouldn't be, and it's very exciting. I got the best clips of the play or of the whole event today, and we're going to react to it together. Anyways, as you know, talking about Trump, his administration, Charlie Kirk, Ukraine, Israel's hold on our politicians in the Israel lobby. This is the younger generation you see at these events, and they are smart. They are aware. They're not going to get played for fools. Like when previous, about I'd say 4 to 12 years ago, where the college population, when it comes to the students, were mainly liberal. Now people are waking up like never before, especially the younger generation. As I constantly say, I feel like when it comes to the Democrat base, like the crazy left, it is mostly very old boomers who watch CNN and MSNBC. They're old as hell. Imagine when their time comes, Democrats are done. There's no base anymore that supports them. Well, that's what I think. Anyways, let's get it started.
So I kind of just don't see a lot of change between, the Biden administration and now the Trump one in foreign policy. We're still giving a shit ton of money to like Israel and Ukraine. Nothing is happening. The war's not stopped. He promised it'd be done in a day, and it's, I don't know, how many months? 8 months or something like that. It's a long time. Your dad was in the CIA, and I was wondering, does our government even want war to stop? Do they want conflicts to end? It seems like we have a difference of interests where we're getting told one thing and the other is happening. And I feel like there's not enough communication between different sects of government. And I really...
Of course they want the wars to continue. They make millions off these wars. These politicians, like, they pass these bills and they get super rich. And it is a huge money laundering scheme on our tax-paying funds. They send our soldiers to other countries to die and fight for these wars where it has to do with terrorism, when in reality, if you guys check into the Iraq war, it mostly was based off the stuff we're hearing today, that Iran or Iraq is months from weapons of mass destruction, which was never true from the beginning. So people are waking up. Can't lie. We the people are the news now. Big media is a dying breed.
I think the deep state's controlling everything and we have no control.
Well, let me start at obviously you probably sense that I agree with a lot of that. Obviously leave my father out of it. I'm gonna have to kick your ass, which I could do, by the way, if you bring him up again, because he was a wonderful man, whatever he did for a living. So I really do hate that. But leaving that aside, and don't test me, son. I hate to say I agree with a lot of what, I think you probably know I agree with a lot of what you've said, and it's enormously frustrating. It's shocking, actually. And I do know, I'm not shilling, I just happen to know some of the people who work in the administration, who are people who agree with you strongly. I think most Trump voters agree with you. That's why they voted for Donald Trump in the first place. And, no pointless wars was not just a thing he said at one campaign stop. It was a pillar of his campaigns and of MAGA itself. I mean, what is MAGA? There's a mad scramble, particularly since Charlie's passing, to define what.
And for instance, to give an example, no wars, yet we're bombing Iran for Israel's benefit, when they were a few months away from weapons of mass destruction, even though you can see videos of Netanyahu since the 90s saying that exact statement over and over and over and over again. He's a war criminal. He doesn't offer anything. We need to stop letting Israel dictate our policy decisions. And that's not there. So many countries are influencing our politicians, but Israel is the biggest one. And it shouldn't be okay. It should never be allowed.
To read some people out of the movement, you're not MAGA. Well, what is MAGA? Well, MAGA is 5 things, okay? MAGA is America first, which means Americans should put no country before America. American interests come first. That's not a crazy idea. No pointless wars, period. And by pointless, I mean wars fought on behalf of an ideology or another nation are totally unacceptable. They weaken this country. Wars fought because somebody running a country is bad? Okay, is bad. You're telling me a world leader's bad? All right. Yeah, no. It's impoverished, you know, it's dramatically weakened this country, its social fabric, its treasury, it's killed so many Americans, and it's really weakened America's position globally. So no pointless wars. Bring back American jobs, right? Of meaningful jobs. You know, the call centers have moved to South Asia, AI's crushing the lawyers. What do Americans do for a living? Like, think deeply about that and work to make work a reality for people. I mean, you all are, I assume, still in college. Wait till you graduate. You know, I have a child who just graduated college. Once a week, I'm like, how many of your friends, and these are all like smart, pretty affluent, kind of connected, you know, cute girls. How many of your friends have jobs in New York City? 4 out of 10. You know, that's a disaster, actually. And someone needs to be thinking about that deeply, and the promise of MAGA was that somebody would. And then, of course, immigration. Like, you have to.
One example where we could actually help the economy boom is all this money we're getting from tariffs that they're talking about paying down the national debt. Yep, they're sending billions to all these other countries. Give us a bill or give us the money you're bringing in from tariffs, and we will spend into the economy, which will make it boost. Like, I don't understand the thought process. Paying down the debt that the crooked politicians got us into while they got rich and we got poorer. You're bringing in money and you're talking about putting the debt down or lowering the debt that none of us voted for while we're struggling, and you can't help out, knowing that all of our taxes have been spent on bullshit, pretty much overseas crap. I mean, some of the stuff, if you look into what our taxes have gone into, it is a joke. And they can't pass a couple billion-dollar bill, but they could spend trillions and send billions to Israel and Ukraine to help Americans out. Give us a little, you know, money back for our taxes being wasted. You know, it's just, it makes absolutely no sense.
Control.
And yes, this administration did run on that. So I'm sorry, you guys are losing the trust of the American people more and more by the day. The longer you keep Pam Bondi and Kash Patel, the longer that's also going to go down.
In and out of your country, or else you're not a country. And I know that it's considered highly controversial to say that the population of America is being replaced by people from other countries, but it's not controversial. It's a mathematical fact, and the numbers are taken by the US Census, and that's just true. Now, some people are for it. I'm against it. I'm from here. I'm against that. I'm against replacing the current population. And it's happening in this country. It's completely happening in Canada, New Zealand, and Australia, and the UK. It's happening to the English-speaking world. I'm not exactly sure what that is, but I'm totally opposed, and so was everyone who voted for Donald Trump. That's not a conspiracy theory. It's a mathematical reality. And stop it now. And the 5th pillar of MAGA, just to be totally clear, is free speech, because it's our birthright as Americans. And so when we talk about cancel culture or the woke or against the, what does that even mean? It means people who are attempting to abridge my ability to speak freely about what I actually believe. That's what that is. It's an attack on free speech. And by the way, the second Trump gets elected, all these people show up who I've never heard of, who are MAGA people. I can't hear you. Can you scream louder? I love the solidarity fist. And
They're saying Tep is Taos.
I couldn't hear what she said, but this is why
yeah, these people that claim to be MAGA, Ben Shapiro, Laura Loomer, Dinesh D'Souza, people I used to listen to, get my news from, they have lost all credibility, especially into the one subject of Israel.
That brings it out of me, and I'm going to really try to be a nice person to screechy. Oh, I could hear that. Anyway. You know, there's all of a sudden this attempt to limit what people can say in public, and it's by people who claim to be MAGA. It's like insane. And I'm really shocked by it. So again, those are the 5 pillars of MAGA. To be clear, I didn't make them up. Donald Trump articulated them consistently for 10 years, a full decade. He's dominated American politics for 10 years on the basis of those 5 ideas. And a central one of those 5, the 5 pillars of Donald Trump, is no pointless wars. He ran on it. He talked about it extensively. He explained why he thought it, including in interviews with me. And, you know, I will give allowances that the world is super complicated and conflicts are very hard to end, easy to start, hard to end, which is why you don't enter into them lightly. It's like marriage. Pretty easy to get married, go to Vegas, hard to get divorced. And that is true for wars. And so I will allow that because I'm familiar with some of the details. It's hard, but it's not that hard. And it's not as hard as some people pretend it is. And you know who the bad actors are. Zelensky's a bad actor. Okay, he's a dictator. He's not the elected president of Ukraine. And he has said about
Sorry about that. Zelensky is a dork. He goes to all these other countries, asks for billions of dollars, can't even show up in proper attire to ask for citizens, taxpayers' money. And he comes this little gremlin who just expects it, just expects these handouts. He is a disgusting human being, and there's nothing good about Zelensky. I don't care what you say. I say F Russia and F Ukraine, F Israel, F Iran, F all these countries. Let's focus all of our resources on America only.
methodically trying to eliminate traditional Christianity from Ukraine. How about no? I'm not sending you money for that. I'm a Christian. No. And so, again, there's a lot going on, but I think anybody who begins negotiations or attempts to influence negotiations between Russia and Ukraine who takes Zelensky seriously is making a mistake and probably prolonging a war that is basically genocidal for Ukraine. I feel sorry for the Ukrainians. There will be no Ukraine. But Zelensky allowed a law to go through the lawmaking body of Ukraine that legalized the sale of land in Ukraine to foreigners. That's a fact.
And also, they have been pulling people randomly off the streets and putting them on the front line. I've seen countless videos of people in Ukraine walking their dogs, walking with their lady. They will get out of these vans, beat the crap out of him, and throw him in a van and take him to the front line. That's a fact.
And now the male population of Ukraine has been so completely decimated. Of course, they lie about the numbers, but hundreds and hundreds of thousands of Ukrainian men have died. That's like, oh, we're going to need to fill Ukraine with foreigners just because we have no labor force. So ask yourself, in a generation, will Ukraine be Ukrainian? Or will it be like Canada, New Zealand, Australia, the UK, and the United States? Will it have turned over in population? Will it be a different country? And the answer is probably. And there's nothing worse than that, actually. There's nothing worse than that, to take an ancient indigenous population and just eliminate them. And that's exactly what they're doing. And no one's saying that, and Zelensky is leading it. So hard no to him. And then on the Middle Eastern stuff, look, we have a lot of leverage. And you sound informed, I'm not going to continue, but I mean, we pay for the whole thing. So we're not going to pay for this anymore, okay? So it's like if my kids are acting in some outrageous way, you can be like, don't do drugs or study hard in school. But ultimately, you will find out when you become a parent, which I hope is soon, have kids young, you will find out that your real leverage is economic. You're paying for this crap. And so if it really comes down to it and your kid is just wasting his time in college, you could go nuclear and say, I'm not paying for it. Get a job in the kitchen. What? Kids are every bit as entitled as Netanyahu. You know, what? Work for it? But you
would be disgusted if you guys just did a deep, quick dive into what our taxes fund for Israel. No joke. Just take 5 minutes, regardless if you're pro-Israel, anti-Israel. As you know, I'm for the Jewish people to live in peace, but I'm sick of them having a big lobby and control over our government. It's obvious it's the #1 government you can't call out, or you're an anti-Semite. But yeah, that's how we think, straight up.
And sometimes you have to do that. And we've reached the point where I think we have to do it because the cost to the United States is profound. So yes, I'm agitated on those two questions. I share your frustration, and you don't want to, my father Assad, you don't want to live in a country controlled by people whose names you don't know. They work for agencies whose funding is secret. Like, if you actually knew the influence of a couple or more than a couple of federal agencies, some of which you probably have never heard of, on American politics and global affairs, you'd be even more freaked out than you are. So yes, I'm upset about it, very. Thank you for pissing me off more.
Can I leave a final remark?
Yeah, of course.
this is something like not political, but I think you like talking about it. Are aliens a religious or extraterrestrial subject?
They're spiritual.
All right, guys, we're going to stop it right there. I just wanted to show you the part where he spoke about what MAGA is supposed to stand for, what we voted for, and what we're actually getting. I am going to play one more clip, and it is from the same event talking about Charlie Kirk. Let's see what they have to say. One sec. Oh, whoopsie, other video. Also, if you haven't followed me on X, follow me on X. There we go.
The country really benefited from Charlie Kirk, and benefited for that specific reason that you articulated so well, his ability to bring people together who had most things in common but not everything, that ecumenical spirit, which is really necessary. I don't have that. I mean, I'm a completely alienating person. Like, people like me or hate me. You know, it's like I wish I wasn't that way, but I am. Charlie wasn't, and he could hear people who had views that weren't precisely his and say, you know, I think I know what you're saying, or I agree with a lot of what you're saying, and we agree enough that we should be together on this. And I don't know who can do that. It's very obvious to me that the Republican coalition is fracturing over foreign policy, Israel specifically, and it's such a shame. It's such a shame. I mean, I obviously have strong views on this.
Yes, it comes down to Israel in the end. They are the ones that get us into the wars. Our taxes fund most of their stuff. We send the most money there. 98% of our politicians are bought from there. Who just bought TikTok? Who are they trying to convince right now on X with this pro-Israel movement that's going on X? And then they're like almost like shadow banning, like YouTube, people on X as well who are anti-Israel. And as I always say, I'm anti-everything. I am America only. We need to focus all of our resources on fixing our streets, fixing our homeless veterans on the street. We have a drug epidemic here. We have a homeless crisis here. People can't afford to live. People can't afford to buy houses right now. And they're sending billions to Ukraine, Israel, and all these other corrupt countries. This literally our taxes are funding this stuff. It's insanity.
And made myself even more hated, but it's not the only thing I care about. It's the only thing its advocates care about, that's for sure, which is really a shame. You know, but I would say on most things, the people I've battled with, Mark Levin or whatever, you know, I agree with Mark Levin on a lot. I do. I don't know. I mean, I'm very pro-family. I'm passionately pro-life. I think he is also good. Like, it would be worth being united on those things, but, and I'm not passing the buck. I mean, I think a lot of us are more, including me, are more divisive or hot-headed than we need to be. Charlie had a lot of emotional self-control, which he was, you know, 20 years younger than me, and I admired that openly, and I told him so. You have control over your own emotions. You take Proverbs seriously. Control your emotions. That's always been a struggle for me. That's a prerequisite for bringing people together, is curbing your tongue, not saying sharp things that you could say. But I do, so I'm not passing the buck. We're all at fault. And the worst people in the world are going to benefit from this if the fracture remains. But I will say that on the foreign policy question, the advocates of neocon foreign policy literally only care about that, from what I can tell. And I would just urge them to, you know, broaden your concerns a little bit. Yes, I understand your emotional connection. I get it. And I'm willing to make allowances for it. But, you know, slow down a little bit. You don't have to hate people just because they don't worship Bibi or something. Like, that shouldn't be the make or break issue. It's a foreign head of state. Like, settle down.
Great point. We shouldn't be putting other countries' interests before our own. And neocons are taking over this administration again. Mark Levin. Literally, Trump today was announcing that he's going to campaign with Lindsey Graham. Yet he's trying to get rid of Rand Paul and Thomas Massey, who are the only ones that don't take money from AIPAC. It's disgusting. We see right through it. He needs to sharpen up. That's Trump, that is. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. See you on the next one. Have a blessed night.